and we go into the intro, you know?
That's
and
good.
so I'm just going to go into the intro now. Well, welcome to Footnotes, a behind-the-scenes look at what we value and why it matters here at Foothill Church in Glendora, California. I am one of your hosts, Ethan Bailey, joined as always by Erica.
Hey, guys.
Erica, are you a little cold?
Yes.
Yeah.
Guys, it's officially blanket season in the Footnotes podcast studio. For those of you who are not watching, my blanket is very sweet and has a pig on it and some corn. So, if you're like, what is that thing? Why is she wearing weird pants? It's not. It's a blanket because it's cold in here.
It's not cold in here.
And I'm the only one who is cold.
Wearing a jacket, though, is Joe Awuah, our guest for the day.
Hey.
Welcome, Joe. Joe, it's so awesome to have you on here.
Appreciate it, man.
It's a long time coming, and so we have you on to talk about tech. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, it's an honor.
But real quick, let's inform our listeners and watchers who is Joe Awuah. And so Joe's our IT director. Is correct, right? For the church and the school. And so some of you may not realize or maybe forgot, but we also have a K through 8 and a preschool paired along with Foothill Church. So Joe gets to oversee all of that tech, and it's a very tech forward experience within the school. So yeah, what is it you're doing for the church and school?
Currently, I mean, we're doing esports. We're doing, and I'm going off, things that are tech, but yeah, esports, handling all the phones, all routers, switches, access points, Apple IDs or Apple TVs in every room, projector. I mean, anything tech really.
There's a lot of things.
Between Sam and myself, we're
Sam Lamone with you as well.
Yep.
Shout out to Sam.
Fortunately,
Hey,
we have
Sam.
a tech team as well that really supports us there.
It blows my mind sometimes when I catch up with you. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? You're like, oh, we're doing this. I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, so I appreciate you.
Wi-Fi alone.
Yeah.
Like, anytime it flickers, I'm like, oh my gosh, the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It can't work. And you're like, calm down. It's fine.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Joe, it's been really cool to even have you do more with the church staff as well. It's been really cool getting to know you, over the last couple of years. It was also really cool getting to know you for 10 days in Ireland. You and I were roommates, which is awesome.
For those of you listening,
Joe,
he's holding up his Ireland mug.
Yeah.
Brought one of my favorite mugs.
Yeah, he got that at LAX though. He didn't even get it in Ireland. Where did you get that?
No, this was at the airport. I think it actually was at Heathrow.
So it was at the airport.
Yeah.
Oh, so it wasn't far off. Like London Heathrow?
Yes.
So you got your Ireland mug.
Yeah, it was like
in London
on the way
in a layover.
I didn't get a mug. I need one.
I love it.
That's so funny.
I totally, one time when I went to Ireland, totally got a cool mug from a coffee shop in Ireland for my sister. And then I really wanted it. And then I'm in Dublin Airport at the Starbucks. And they had a Starbucks Dublin mug. I'm like, she would rather have that. So I got her that instead. And I was right. She would rather have that.
The airport they usually they know what they're doing. They'll have primo options there.
You know, airport knows what they're doing. This is a side tangent. The Orlando airport, because they have so many people coming in for Universal and Disney, and they have probably one of the best Disney stores I've ever seen. Oh. Just as a side note, airports know what they're doing.
Yeah, no, they must.
Yeah, never been. Well, Joe, you're here to talk about tech, not Ireland. We'll leave that to Andrew Elder for a previous episode that we've done. Maybe one day we'll have you back on to talk about Ireland. Sure. But yeah, talking about tech. Yeah, what I know you love tech. I feel like there's always conversations I'm having with you and you're telling me about this and that and the other. One time you walked in with a little we all have staff name badges that we wear around campus. Joe has this little programmed name badge where he can swap out pictures and titles.
Badger 2048.
Badger 2048. Year 2048?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're living in 2022.
Joe.
Joe's living into the year 2048.
Fantastic.
What is your favorite piece of tech right now? What's getting you going?
Right now, I'm really enjoying. I had my old Apple Watch for about 5 years, and I was enjoying it, using it. I just a little bit. I'm not an avid backpacker, but I was using it for backpacking, for sports, just tracking health. And And I shattered it a few times playing racquetball, just running towards the wall, just smashing into the wall.
Like just the face of the watch, literally just hitting.
Just shattered.
Wild.
And then the battery would not last, on trips. We did an Alaskan trip to Denali, and 10-day backpacking trip, 50-pound packs, just the Alaskan wilderness, and the watch just was not lasting. So Apple announced the Apple Watch Ultra, and I was like, that looks like, after looking at the specs, it's phenomenal.
Do the specs say it can withhold like wall contact while playing racquetball?
Yes.
Is that one of the things? We're actually going to test it. Bryce, can you pull out the racquetball set? We're going to set up a court and we're going to test it out right now.
But seriously, I watched some reviews. I just watched like a couple of YouTubers, and this guy tied the watch, and it was a little cringe. I mean, he tied it to the car. He has the Jeep, tied it to the Jeep, and they just drove through like a dirt path, and just beating the watch up, but
That's cool.
nothing. He just wiped the screen, and
That's awesome.
it was crisp. So yeah, this is one of my favorites. I think they went full in on making sure that it was meant for, those that are outdoorsy.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Apple Watches are pretty nifty tools. Yeah.
I mean, and thinking about where this can go, like I would love to not have to use a phone. Just have it be the watch, and I tried one day, full day, just with the watch. It worked, but about 6 o'clock, like dinner time, I was down to 10%. I'm like, okay, this is probably not great, because I think it would have tanked it through, but talking on it really drained a bit. If they add a camera, I'm right there.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, speaking of wishful thinking, what's you like that segue? What's a piece of tech that you really like hope gets invented, or like if you had it your way, this would be here right now?
Yeah, I've always since I was a little kid. I mean, since moving to the States, it's probably 9. I've always wanted to be able to teleport. I think teleportation would be amazing. I mean, we moved around a lot. My dad, being a missionary, we moved around in the States, parts of Canada. We just moved a lot. So, and even like short trips, I always want to be able to teleport back and see my friends and, family. And so yeah, teleportation would be amazing. Just, again, going back to the watch, just dial in some geolocations.
Yeah.
Hit the button, boopity boop, and you're there. It's like maybe for security, make sure somebody's on the other side to answer it, so you can't just teleport yourself.
So like old
space.
school, phone operators where they like have the plugs, but it's
That's
like
right.
people like making sure they get teleported to the right place.
Yes, that would
I
be
like
amazing.
It. It's like some old tech with new tech that's happening.
Did you guys ever watch that movie Smart Home?
Oh, yeah, Smart House.
From Disney Channel?
Is that the one with the rope? The house was
the robot.
It's really old school graphics and
Yes.
Those are good.
But the one piece that has always stuck with me is like you just say what you wanted to eat, right? You just made it.
Yeah.
I'm like that.
Does it just appear?
It would just like pop out of whatever microwave thing or whatever. I don't know, but like gourmet, delicious food. I'm like, that's the tech I want.
Yeah.
Why is that not
That's a
here?
good one.
I liked in that show the cleaning feature.
Oh, that
they had these teenagers had a very irresponsible party, and there's panic mode, but the smart house mother figure, it was kind of odd.
Yeah.
She was like, save the day and clean the whole house. She just said, I think she like throw everything on the floor, and they started doing that.
Yeah. I saw some scene where the water just kind of.
And all they did in post was just like have the messy looking room and then the clean looking room. I think she probably did like a crossfade. I think that's all it was too. So it was really funny.
It's good.
Move magic. Am I right?
Movie magic. What about tech that scares you? What's something that like is in the works or is even rolled out?
Yeah.
That's just like that kind of gives me some caution.
Yeah, I mean, social media where it's at or where you can see it going scares me a little bit. Because I mean, I've always used social media, from the very beginning.
What was your first?
Facebook, as an example, was like for students. It was for education. Students could share information, collaborate, and chat with friends, and that was a great use of that tech. And then as it matured, we got into being able to use or allow family and outside friends and external and then it was still in its infancy. It felt very like clean. I mean, it didn't feel overbearing. It wasn't used, it wasn't monetized, and it felt like something that you could see the potential being used for good, And as it progressed, you can see that advertisements just got in, monetization, just abuse of it, and then they added, they wanted to basically keep people in that environment, and so that kind of scares me.
It seems like when money was introduced, people want to make money, and these businesses, these advertisements. And so that often is a driving force to this next thing. Yeah. And then it's like, I'm sure it'll come up with like that Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix. Like this whole idea of getting people back on, like really manipulative stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Manipulation.
That's definitely.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. I mean, like to the point where I remember we were in Colorado, and we loved using Facebook to kind of, know what was going on down here and with family in California. And I would always see a certain group of friends, but not, or family, but not everyone, And did a little research and found that the Facebook algorithms were only showing you a certain amount of people, like on your wall, and it wouldn't show any more unless you paid for the ability to see more. It's like, well, takes it another step.
Yeah, well, look forward to unpacking this a little bit more. Even just talking a little bit more of just the responsibility of tech, but even honestly, like how do we engage with tech as Christians, and how can that glorify God? So excited to get into the conversation with you, Joe. But real quick, Erica has a quick message for you.
Hey, since we began our Send campaign back in August, we've heard from people around the corner, across the country, and throughout the world. And one thing has rung true, that your generosity creates real gospel change in these places. So we urge you to continue to be faithful in giving toward the Send campaign, knowing that when you give, the work of the church is bolstered and people come to know Jesus, which is the goal, right? So if you haven't gotten involved in the Send campaign, or if you're like, shoot, I need to be giving to my pledge, you can go to foothill.church/send right now and join in what God is doing throughout the world.
All right, well, let's get on into it, Joe, shall we?
Yeah.
Dive right in.
Well, hey, so I think tech is something that we engage so much with in society. It's something we can't avoid. Some people are afraid of tech. Some people love tech. Some people love tech too much. Ultimately, though, why is irresponsible use of tech dangerous? You think of for kids, for adults. Why should tech be kind of looked at like with a responsibility lens?
Well, I mean, so I was doing some research a little bit on this prior, but so the Barna Group had some stats on this, and they were talking about how 77% of parents believe that raising teens now is much more difficult to raise teens now than ever before, and that's primarily attributed to the fact that tech is still new. When you really think about it, it's still in its infancy. We only really have about 20 years of research on kind of the effects of overuse. Of course, everything when used properly is and corralled and monitored can be used properly, but we're just touching kind of some of the issues of what can happen when it's overused. So they're talking about how kids are waking up in the middle of the night, teens are waking up in the middle of the night to check their phones, and it's just progressively getting worse, but there's still hope. It's just having to maintain that being cautious and making sure that we're still on top of that.
Yeah, it's interesting because you hear like people in different generations and how they've grown up with tech, and so it's kind of interesting. I think my kind of generation was the last generation to have some memory without tech being so integral. Like I grew up, we had a family computer at most that was in the living room away. But yeah, I never, as a kid, would never wake up middle of the night like, oh, gotta check my phone. Even when I was like a younger teenager, it's like I had a flip phone, so there was nothing to check. And so it's interesting to see, like even just in my own lifetime, like tech is super young because there's still these newer elements that are continually being introduced. New things coming and everything.
Yeah, I mean we're moving into like the cloud space now,
Right.
and it's very iterative. Like it's just constantly changing, and that's the other part I think that's making it difficult, is that it's moving at a pace that's so fast. It's just makes it that much more exponentially difficult to keep track and to just get a grasp on helping these kids, our children. So, yeah.
So do you feel like tech is bad, or is it just we're broken people living in a fallen world? Because I feel like a lot of people can look at tech and like we can't have it, we need to avoid it.
Well, it's easy to point the finger at that, right?
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So how would you address that? Like if someone asking that question was, tech is bad. Like, how would you kind of answer that or resolve that for someone?
Well, I mean, we know we live as Christians. We live in a fallen world, and we're just broken people. I mean, we just are broken people. So, it's not so much the technology in of itself. I tend to be a futurist in that way, where it's like it can be used for good, and there's billions of ways that it can be used for good. You look at how it's being used for the disabled, and there's just a lot of positives there. But yeah, we're just broken people, so we will try our darndest to not use it for bad, but eventually, we'll still tend to lean, and then obviously non-unbelievers play a factor into it, and that's why we need more Christians in this space. Like any space, gaming, just any space that's tech. I think this needs to be more Christians in that space.
What about in like kind of, I guess, average use of tech? Like you mentioned, like maybe like health wise, tech has been really awesome and helpful. What about in just kind of the normal like day to day like life? Social media, like I think we've only hit it on as a negative. What are some of the average uses of tech that you feel like are positive? Like you have seen like, hey, this is why this tech is good that we have, these smartphones, this kind of maybe even like some AI stuff. Like what do you feel like is good about that?
Well, I mean, like at a very base level, like even at our house, right? You have smart homes, light switches that you can just ask Siri or Alexa or whatever to turn on, and it turns on. You can set timers. I mean, the little very base. But then you can get into, like factors where you can also use that to set limits for your kids, for yourself. These companies, they know that tech can be abused, and we, there's that addictive nature of it. So they're putting in safeguards on our devices. You can see like all the parental controls. You can see all the screen time controls that they're putting in, and so they are aware. It seems like we're all aware of the shortcomings, but you can still take advantage of those to.
Do you feel like more tech companies are realizing this and then like being more proactive towards safeguarding things? Like I know, I actually don't know what their intentions were for this, but like Apple, like they have less. Like what is it? Like they like stuff. It's making it harder for people to have direct ads towards people because of like settings you can turn off now through your Apple devices.
Apple. I'd say. I mean, they've been researching this for a while as well. so they were noticing that as developers, put out the apps, that there were backdoors to collect information and track which apps you're using and which sites you're on, and jumping from one app to another. So they started just putting these safeguards in their OS. Same with Google. I mean, they're all seeing the same kind of patterns. Google just tends to be more advertisement focused, so Apple leaned a little bit more into it. But they are trying to kind of saying, hey guys, like, this isn't the proper use of this technology. So yeah, there's some stuff there to help corral
I think
that.
even the screen time, that you have on your phone, like, you can put in those limits yourself, like outside of, whatever, like putting on your router or whatever, like that's very simple and easy to use. And one of my favorite examples of like how tech has been helpful and like, a source of joy is this story that my grandma told where you just kind of posed the question of like, how has like technology like benefited you? And she's, I think, like 82 now. I don't exactly remember, but she was talking about how she moved to the US after she was married, and her sister still lived down there. And she's like, because I have my smartphone, like I could talk to my sister like every day and stay in contact with her. And like, she's like, when I was growing up, like, when you moved, that was it. Like, you didn't really, like, unless you traveled down, which is a huge ordeal, or wrote letters, like, there wasn't that form of communication. And her sister has since passed. And when she was telling the story, her sister had recently passed. And she was just remembering, like, how sweet it was that she could really continue to have that relationship with her sister because of a smartphone. So,
Yeah, there's certainly like really cool things that tech has opened up the doors for, but it really kind of comes down to just that responsible use of it. I mean, just like with anything else, driving a car, you have to drive it responsibly. Like
drinking water, you could drink yourself.
You can have
Truly,
too much. You literally have too much water.
It's everything. Right?
I think tech is just it's new, so it's easy to blame, and it's very involved in our lives. It's the hot kind of ticket item, and so there needs to be some ownership to that side and stuff. And so how should we as Christians even like approach this and even just glorify God with our use of tech?
Yeah, so at the school, I was talking about esports and
which, real quick, just in case, explain what esports is.
It's just electronic sports. I mean, it's just gaming, whether you're racing Mario Kart, and you still learn the same kind of life lessons, teamwork and leadership. I mean, there's same principles from sports, basketball, football, the other sports apply in esports. It's just virtually.
I know, like I feel like a lot of people can dismiss esports, but it's like it's a very legitimate thing. Like it's already huge. And it's just continuing to fastly grow, quickly grow.
Middle school, I mean, we work with the middle school esports league, and they're doing small prize pools and scholarships, and then colleges are doing scholarships, 40,000, 50,000 scholarships for these sports.
So it's a legit growing, again, already a huge, but continuing to grow thing. So anyways, what's happening over with?
So we just did a webinar. This Dr. Brad Hickey, he's like director of gaming and students. What is this? Director of gaming and student support at Dordt University. And some of the things, concepts, and he's been doing this, he's in his 10th year. He's got a doctorate in this, and
crazy.
And it was just really interesting to hear his take on how God truly wants to be involved in every aspect of our lives, every inch of it, and he, it was called Gaming Coram Deo, which is Coram Deo is basically before the face of God or in the presence of God. And so just the using everything to worship and to glorify God was the kind of the goal there. I've had conversations with during college I would be gaming and have my headset on and chatting with someone across the world, and we just start talking. You're chatting, you're talking about life, and we'd start talking about God and what he means in your lives, and you just have some deeper conversations with other gamers.
For sure.
So that I think God really seeks to be involved in our lives and help us, and he wants to grow us in all aspects of our life. So I think why limit that,
Right. Cool.
Yeah. What else? You mentioned esports at Foothill Christian School. What else is kind of going on over at Foothill Christian in terms of tech that like the kids are growing, and even maybe they're learning more about like how to engage that well, and even just glorify God through that? What are some other aspects of tech that the school's kind of venturing into?
They're doing robotics. They're doing even the 3D printers. I mean, that's been amazing for that group over there. For our students, they're learning how to, use 3D CAD programs to create, an image or create a product, and then bring it and print it right in class. We have a couple 3D printers in there that's getting a lot of use. So Lauren's doing amazing work with that.
Yeah, well, Joe, that's super cool, like everything that's happening at Foothill Christian School and all that. Yeah. What about some just like practical tips? I feel like sometimes people, these are cool conversations we're having, but like sometimes like, hey, I just want something practical. Like what are maybe 3 tips that you would give to people listening and watching of just how to engage with tech well?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we touched on it earlier, everything in moderation, just being able to kind of manage your time with tech. I mean, I've been using computers since I was 10, and it's over 30 years now. And it's, I tend to take breaks. That's just something I learned over time. And now that I have kids, it's like, how do I teach them to do the same? It has to be innate, kind of has to come naturally. Tech, and I always tell my kids, it's like, we use tech doesn't use us. So it's just one of those things where you have to manage, like the tech should just disappear as you use it. It's just one of those things where, like I was touching on earlier with the lights, it's like, it's just there to help us. It's a tool for our use, but we just, sometimes get enamored with certain things, and then it carries on to some other spaces. But I would say, so moderation, and then start small, set small goals. Like, okay, if I want to, maybe today I'll go to bed 30 minutes earlier versus sitting on my phone. I mean, just little things. And then I think one of the big ones for us, at least as a family as well, is no tech during dinner time. Just being able to have conversation with family and those you love. It's important to be present and not have to constantly check on your emails. I mean, the emails will be there whenever, So just little.
Yeah. What I love about those is those aren't like revolutionary tips. They're just like those good, normal, practical things that we just need to apply. I mean, just to so many other things. Like if you're trying to eat healthier, it's like, hey, start small, start realistic, have moderation, And so I think that's kind of actually encouraging, because it's not like there's this, unique science to how to, be responsible with tech. It's just, hey, like there's these practical life things that we need to apply to everything. So I like that.
Now, I mean, like that's like kind of stage one, and then if you want to kick it up a notch, you get
let's kick it up.
You get routers and switches, and you get certain devices like Disney Circle. There's different devices that are out there. And
what's Disney Circle?
It's a filtration device that basically connects in line from your router that sits on your home network or any network, and you can set site filters, you can set content filters on there.
That's great.
So, cool. And maybe I can get you guys,
Yeah,
a
we'll link
list
that.
later. Yeah, we can
Yeah.
put them in the link.
Yeah, a
But-
list of anything that you maybe would recommend. We could have that in the show notes
Joe's
for sure.
Tech Tips.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe's Tech Tips.
But yeah, I mean, you can. There's a lot you can do to manage. Like at our house, the kids get during the school week. There's basically no screen time, and then at dinner an hour before, if we do watch a show or something like that, an hour before bedtime, there's generally no screen time. And this is at a tech house. I mean, there's tech everywhere. So. Then weekends they can usually like enjoy, but we're still, doing stuff as a family. We're pretty busy in general, like sports and et cetera. But yeah, we try to definitely manage that, to the point where it's like when they want phones later, we're probably just gonna do watches, or
with the like cellular.
cellular
plan
watches.
on it.
Yeah. Just get AirPods or HomePods if they need to talk rather than walking around like that. But,
Like a spy.
yeah.
Yes.
Which
What?
is cool. Yeah.
Cool.
That's a way to frame it.
Okay.
Like, no. you can have a really cool smartphone, watch YouTube videos all day, or
Or
you
can
look
be
like a spy.
You just got to put your hand
Yeah.
like this the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or a flip phone. I mean, yeah. So
Cool. Yeah.
I love that.
What about let's go a little bit deeper, a bigger tip. So for Christians, new tech is coming. Like you have, Facebook turned into Meta because they have this whole metaverse. There's some honestly really interesting, to put it light, but maybe concerning tech that's kind of in the works and coming out. So how should we as Christians engage with that tech? Like, do we run for the hills? Do we drink the Kool-Aid and just dive in, or how do we manage that responsibly and healthily, as Christians, to engage in some of this stuff that it can be daunting and concerning.
Yeah, one of the big things that I think we've all kind of seen uprising, Ready Player One, kind of tech is VR, AR and VR, but VR is taking off, and Meta is sinking a ton of money into this. I mean, like billions of dollars, numbers into VR.
So they're all in.
Yeah, they're all in. It's kind of like if this doesn't work, then they're gonna, they're basically gonna sink. But yeah, they're really sinking into that. And again, tons of positives there. Again, VR, if you're disabled, they're using it to restore certain abilities that tell your brain to that, hey, that's
interesting.
That's still there. So recovery and has been amazing for that tech. But then obviously there's the flip side where everything's monetized, and as soon as money gets injected in there, that's usually when things are just kind of can go awry. So yeah, that one can be a bit scary, because they want you to live in this other world, and there can be forms of escapism, and that's creating a lot of that too. And I mean, some people won't be able to do it because, like for me, as an example, I get motion sickness when I put on those glasses for, I would say 15, 20 minutes max. And then, I just feel like I got to throw up. So, but, yeah, they're just dumping a lot in there. And I think we just got to be a little wary. We still just got to be on top of all of these, these techs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just as we're wrapping up here, there's a lot, and sometimes people want to continue to learn more. What's a resource or two that you would maybe suggest people to check out?
Yeah, I think there was a resource, the Techwise Family.
Okay.
I think that's a great resource for Christians.
Is that a book?
Yeah, it's a book. Yes. It's Andy Crouch. Wrote that one, and it's a fantastic book on just helping our families to use tech to glorify God, and and it's not so much tips and tricks focus. It's just more what we were created for. It's more in the you know, kind of on the spiritual side of things. And so I think that's a great resource for parents and for individuals. I mean, it's just for everyone. Just focusing on raising and growing as people that intend to honor God and you know, find joy in honoring God and relationships. And
That's good.
Yeah, so it's a good resource.
Yeah, we'll have that linked. We'll have an Amazon link and talk about tech and growing tech. That can be scary. We'll have an Amazon
Talking about
link.
tracking your every move.
Perfect.
So, well, hey, Joe, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Sure.
It was
Thanks.
awesome having you and talking about this.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, I feel like, you know, most of this is, you know, common knowledge, common kind of no words of real wisdom, but, you know, just basic. But yeah, happy to
But
be
at
here.
least a good reminder
Yeah,
that, you know.
Gets the conversation going, and we hope
Yeah.
people continue to kind of just grow in their awareness and responsibility with tech. So,
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, appreciate it.
yeah. Hey, Foothill Church, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, we'll see you next time.
It's blanket season in the podcast studio.